Services for Students with Disabilities helps to determine eligibility and approve reasonable accommodations for students with disabilities at the University of Texas at Austin. Our office works with students, faculty, and staff to make sure the campus and classroom environment are accessible to students with disabilities. Here is a quick picture that gives you an idea of the types and percentages of students who are receiving accommodations from our office, based on our numbers from spring 2011, when we had approximately 1,600 students registered to receive accommodations. As you can tell, most of the students who receive accommodations have invisible disabilities that may not be readily apparent. Faculty play a vital role in the accommodation process by ensuring that students receive their approved accommodations within the classroom and testing environment. Our office is happy to work with you to consult, support, and problem solve with you about accommodating students in your class.
Hello, my name is Carol Gilson. I'm a graduate student at the School of Social Work, and I don't feel like I could have made it this far without my accommodations.
So how do you know if a student is approved for accommodations here at the University of Texas at Austin? Students are approved for accommodations and are then responsible for delivering an accommodation letter to their instructor. The accommodation letter will list the specific accommodations that have been individually approved for that student based on the impact of their disability. It is the student's responsibility to discuss each accommodation with you and decide how it will be provided within your class. The accommodation letter will also list the name of the student's assigned Disability Services Coordinator, who would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. So while you're here, why don't you and I discuss how we're going to implement each of these in class, okay?
Sounds great.
Wonderful.
All students are required to provide recent documentation of their disability from a licensed medical or mental health care provider in order to verify their disability and to help us determine what accommodations would be most appropriate for them in their academic pursuits. The details of a student's diagnosis or symptoms are kept confidential within our office. Please do not ask the student specifics about their disability. When you receive your accommodations, it will list the specific accommodations that will have a direct link to the student's disability. Carol is going to be providing us with some inside information on why a student might be approved for an accommodation. Student may need to step out of class for 5 to 10 minutes.
This type of accommodation would be important for a student with Crohn's disease or irritable bowel syndrome who needs to go to the restroom frequently, or perhaps even a student who has PTSD who needs to step out in the hallway if they hear a triggering sound.
Extended time for testing.
This accommodation will be important for students who have learning disabilities or are on medications with a sedative effect who may need to reread questions over and over again.
Copy of class notes from a volunteer.
This accommodation would be helpful for students with multiple disabilities, whether they be learning disabilities or physical disabilities, who have difficulty concentrating, writing, and paying attention to the lecture at the same time.
To get a student perspective on providing accommodations, let's go visit Tony, who's working in our assistive technology lab right now.
Morning, Coach.
Hello, I am a student with a disability, a visual disability here at the University of Texas at Austin. My accommodations aim to reduce the impact of my disability on my academics. Furthermore, accommodations are not special treatment and do not give me an advantage over other students. As a student with a visual impairment, I might be a little bit hesitant or bashful to ask for accommodations, but this is part of the job of a faculty member, and they can make the difference between success and failure for me in the class.
So here are some of the most important things you should remember when working with students with disabilities. Always be sure to include a statement in your syllabus that informs students of the available services and the steps to take to facilitate academic accommodations. It's important to remember that accommodations are designed to provide equal access and are not required to change the essential course requirements or criteria. Students must deliver and discuss their accommodation letters before instructors are required to provide those accommodations. It is the responsibility of the faculty member to provide the accommodations listed in the accommodation letter. It's important to remember that accommodations have been individually approved based on the impact of a student's disability. We look forward to working with you to create a welcoming, inclusive, and accessible learning environment for students with disabilities at the University of Texas at Austin.